Hey everybody, it's Recap here. In this video, I will be going over the developer Q&A with Ian today. Also, so it's going to be kind of a recap and then kind of my opinion if I have a strong opinion on it. And as always, I write down notes on these, so I will be reading off my screen a little bit to kind of remember everything. It's an hour long, so they asked about the artifact challenges. So recently I had my artifact challenge guide for Rep Pallies, but artifact challenge based on eye level was kind of the question. And basically Ian's answer was your power is going to matter in almost anything you do in an MMORPG. This is World of Warcraft, so yes, the more gear you have, the easier something's going to be. Now someone was saying, they could have scaled it to your item level like they do a lot of other things, but that's just not kind of what they were going for because of different classes having the same challenge. They kind of just streamlined it. He had some good reasons for it. Some of them were a little bit more technical than others, but I kind of disagree with the first premise. Your gear is always going to matter in a game like this. It's supposed to. Then they asked about thoughts on Pathfinder 7.2, so the unlocking flying, basically. Basically, it was similar to Warlords, which is what I would say. And if anything, what they would do to change it is make it a little bit harder to get flying. However, Revered was always their main hard goal for it, but maybe throw a couple more things in, especially after they removed the having to complete the different invasions in each different zone. It felt a little bit bare, he said. Will invasions continue for the rest of the expansion, or will they stop after we fight Tomb of Sargeras? No plans on turning the invasions off. The example he used was after you killed the Lich King, the Scourge didn't just disappear. But that's also because Bolvar's the Lich King now, so it wasn't the best analogy, but I got his overall point in it. Are you ever going to increase the frequency of invasions? No. When Assault is active, it overrides spawns in that area, and of course other world quests in that area as well. So they don't want to just completely replace the old stuff, so they're not planning on increasing that. Will the building uptime be changed at all? So as of now, contributions have not decreased. The question kind of referred to as people get flying, they're going to do the world quest less and then have less supplies to turn in. As of now, they haven't decreased in any region. If and when they do, they will lower the resources needed to get the buildings up, so that way they're up at pretty much the same amount that they are now. So they should always be up about the same amount that they are now. Question about time gating of 7.2. I had mixed feelings on that. Why time gate anything was the question. They're trying to do storytelling inside the game leading up to something. Basically, it's an in-world excuse, kind of like gives them time to explain something because they weren't ready to put Tomb out yet. Well, they were ready to put Tomb out for the most part, but the players weren't ready for Tomb yet. Nighthold hasn't been out long enough, basically, for a big raid. So they were just trying to tell you some storyline up until the point of opening Tomb of Sargeras. So that's what this whole time gating kind of is. They did streamline a lot of it to the front because it seemed very bare at the start of 7.2 because all you had was just the world quest the first week and like your artifact, and then you had to like open the dungeon the second week, and it seemed really slow. So they streamlined some of it faster than what they intended. However, we still do have the class mounts to look forward to. A lot of people have forgotten about those. I'm still looking forward to that. The next question, 7.2 is one of the biggest patches, and they said compared to what? So total amount of stuff in the 7.2 was huge, and something I never really thought of was that there's class-specific things in this patch especially, so there's a lot of stuff in there, but it's not for everyone. So unless you have a bunch of alts, you're not experiencing all the stuff. So while it was a big patch, it wasn't big on an individual basis. They asked if there's going to be any more Tomb of Sargeras testing in the PTR. Yes, there is. They're going to have a schedule for that. Exalted status for class mounts account-wide. Well, he let us know that there is no more exalted status for the class mounts anymore. You don't need to be exalted with Armies of Legion Fall. When that quest releases, you can just do it. So your alts will have to do it too. You'll have to do it on each class, but you don't have to get the reputation gate. Tomb of Sargeras release. This is big, guys. Mid to late June, so a little later than I thought. I'm kind of happy about it, to be honest. I just don't want everything rushed. I mean, while it gives me more content to put out if they release more raids and quicker, I don't like rushing things either. So in May they're going to put up a schedule, a more specific schedule. They said about 5 months seems to be about the right time for a big raid, like a tier raid. Um, how will Mythic Plus work once Tomb of Sargeras is released? It's going to be the same as Nighthold, kind of. They're going to increase the item level of the stuff, increase the difficulty, or difficulty will probably stay the same, increase the item level of the stuff for the most part. Heirlooms in 7.2.5, they're still on the go for that, even though they haven't released any information on that, unlike patch notes or PTR patch notes. That is still what they're working on. So legendaries, this is a good question. So legendaries, after you have all of them from a spec. So I don't know how people will do this because I play a lot and I don't. But there's some people who have all the legendaries for a certain spec, including like Pyrdaz and the ring, the neck, the boots for plate, Agrimar Stride. Like they have all the utility legends and all the DPS legends for their spec. So what happens then? Some people don't want to switch to protection spec when they're in a raid because they want to get the. So I'm a paladin, so they switch. They don't want to switch to protection spec because they're in a raid, so they want to get the rat gear. So what about them? So in 7.2.5, what's going to happen is if that is the case for you, if you get lucky enough to get that legend proc, it'll give you a random legend from another spec. So it could be holy or prot. If you're ret, it could be holy or prot. You don't get a choice, but at least you get it. Like you're not just skipping over it. In the future, can we have 12-part class Q&As? They basically said no to this, but the excuse is when answering a question about one class, you're not talking to the other 11 classes, so like everyone's not engaged. They like these to be more general kind of thing, but they realize that they need to do something, so we mentioned a subreddit thing or something like that. I did see in the chat, actually, someone said, why not do a YouTube video about each class? And granted, there's tons of us doing YouTube videos for each class that people can look up and learn a lot about the classes that way, but that is actually a really good idea. So Blizzard, if you want me to do the Paladin one, I mean, I'm all for it. Is Tomb of Sargeras last raid in Legion? I kind of already knew this answer. No. 7.3 will have a raid as well because we're going to be in Argus, and he wasn't going to give any spoilers on that. Will Invasions ever give Army of Legion Fall rep? No, that's not how they're intended. You're fighting for that zone, so you're fighting in Val'sharah, you're helping the Dreamweavers. You're not helping the Armies of Legion Fall, except for maybe, inadvertently. Are they going to have a use for access to Order Hall resources? This isn't something they really thought was going to be the case because a lot of players don't do World Quests just for fun. And if you don't do your World Quests in your emissaries all the time, you probably don't have an excess of Order Hall resources. However, when you're me, you have 70,000, even though you send your followers out constantly. So I would like something to do with those. Nothing currently. That could change if too many players have it. However, like me, I could just use mine for Seals of Fate, like when the new raid comes out. However, I barely have to use any now because I only use them for Mythic rating. Legendary upgrades for 7.2.5. This is important. Eye level ceiling shifts by about 30 levels. So the same Blacksmith Guy and Dalaran will have a quest to give you the essence to upgrade your old legendary. So you still have to do that. However, you don't have to get the quest this time. When you're just doing stuff, you can get the essence without the quest. So if you're like me, you opened up your weekly chest from Mythic Plus weekly chest, and you didn't have the quest yet, and you missed out, and you were like a week late getting your legend upgraded, your first legend upgraded. So that won't be the case this time. As soon as you're doing any activity that can reward the essence, you'll just get the essence. Black Temple time walking question. I'm really looking forward to this. It was asked if it was tied in with the BC dungeon time walking, which it is. So it's the same week. So that whole week of content will just be BC. And they want to add a raid to each time walking, preferably. So Wrath, Cataclysm, and Pandaria, and probably eventually Warlords, to be honest. So Paragon Emissary chests. They were just talking about this. So I have gotten a cool pet out of this, or a toy, a Pilfered Sweeper. So it's like a sweeper from Chiliax. It's kind of a cool little toy that follows you around. But they basically said these chests suck. You get a little bit of gold, or you don't get crap from these things, which is true. Ian said it's fair assessment. They'll probably buff them up more. However, after watching this, immediately after I did my Azuna, I was kind of doing it while I listened to the Q&A, and I got the Paragon chest for getting the 10,000 rep after Exalted, and well, lo and behold, I got a mount out of it. So I got this Hippogriff mount. What's it called? Cloudwing Hippogriff mount. So I mean, I guess I'm not going to complain about them. And the last thing that I thought was interesting that they talked about was Horde storyline updates, even though I'm not Horde. I did think it interesting. I just figured that they had one since I was doing like the Anduin one with Varian. I thought maybe they had one. Yes, but right now they wanted to focus on Varian and Anduin and kind of close that storyline up. My guess is because Anduin's going to become like some badass now. He has a sword in his hand. Go watch the cinematic on my video if you haven't seen it. But I'm guessing Anduin's going to stop being like a little boy and become kind of more of a badass guy. But yeah, so it was a fairly productive Q&A. Had a good time watching it. And as always, everyone have a good one. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Thumbs up and sub as always. Also comment below, share the videos. Appreciate it so much. You can also check me out at Twitter at WowGamingInc. And at Twitch with the tag name Kneecap Killer. So everyone have a good one and see you again soon.